I was wondering for the longest time how to get any decent light, and the answer turned out to be rather simply hold your head up and hold the camera up high. Weird. I'm finding out like all the things, I guess I'm in a kind of an enterprising and expansive mood at this exact time. And, I was planning on doing a bunch of stuff, but my pooter is out of juice, technically speaking. And I went and downloaded YouTube Studio and found out, like, most of the stuff that I wanted to do with it, I can't do. I also can't create a playlist, a new playlist, apparently on the phone. I consider it a undeniable fact that I'm interesting. Apparently, I'm interesting for the wrong reason. I mean, I'm poor as dirt and I'm a bum on the street. I mean, I guarantee you my life is interesting. And I've also been an occultist since I was about 20. And I have a point of view on the subject that, like, I can't, I've just always felt that, should be much more common than it is. With as many great occultism channels as there are on YouTube, I don't find any of them match mine exactly. And I only mean that about, like, some of the most fundamental things. And I don't see, just a ton of occultism and magic related channels on YouTube, but I've never found one like mine. So, and that's been true, like, forever. Or, to put it more accurately, that would be true even if somebody hadn't ignited a possibly a long ignored interest of mine. And it's, social studies type stuff. Sort of, what was his name? The guy who wrote Occult Philosophy. One of the biggest guys. It's either Paracelsus or from, pre-Golden Dawn days. It's either Paracelsus or that other guy. It sounded like I just really know my stuff. Now, Agrippa. There it is. It's Agrippa. By Agrippa. I don't know what we're supposed to know Paracelsus for. I think he was a medical guy. And, Okay, admittedly, I haven't looked. Next thing I need to do when I get done with this video is see if they have anything on Raymond Lull. But, maybe there are just some things you still just don't say on the subject of occultism. Oh, at any rate, I'm thinking of doing a playlist or, podcast called Occult Social Studies, because they say that Agrippa's, 3-volume with maybe an extra fourth that's actually a fake or something. Or something like that, and I don't recall all the numbers, but yeah, Agrippa has Agrippa's books on the occult philosophy, on Agrippa's books, Occult Philosophy, or a book, Occult Philosophy, in 3 volumes, whatever you call it, is not called philosophy because it's hidden philosophy, but rather because it is philosophy from an occultist perspective. I'm going to create a playlist / podcast called Occult Social Studies. And it will be called Occult Social Studies, not necessarily because it's a hidden topic of social studies, but because it is a take on social studies. It is the take on social studies of an occultist. And for lack of a better term, because social studies covers geography and history and other subjects of such ilk. And at any rate, around 3.5 years ago, I'm going to say, I don't know. No, it couldn't have been 3.5 because it was around this time of year. So maybe 3 years ago, I'm going to go with. Yeah, I think it was around 2020. Somebody ignited an interest in me that had long lain dormant. And boy, it just opened up a great can of worms. It was also opened not only by a person I knew, but and I have to give this guy credit, because I've since stopped liking him or enjoying his company in too much of any way. But he did awaken this in me, as also did a book called The Secret History of the World by Mark Booth, Jonathan Black. I mean, I was surprised to even come across a book I liked as much as I'd liked this book this late in my life. And it, I have a very short list of, favorite books or my votes for greatest books of all time. And I had to add it to that list. I had a little bit previously added 2 books, but they were something of a protest vote. Wasn't sure they belonged in that very, very short list, except in reaction to some things that were going on in the world. There were 2 of them that I added at the exact same time, but this one needed no qualifications. yeah, it's just resoundingly. It blew my mind. I ended up like by about the third chapter, every page, maybe even before, every page had underlines or notes or both. Yeah, it's like one of the books that me in my homeless state I try to have on me at all times. Not necessarily, I should point out, because I agree with him, or I think he's right about everything. No, it's more what he wanted to cover, I think. He asks at the beginning of he says at the beginning of the book, I mean, you might think that this is a bunch of bullshit, and that's fine too, whatever keeps you reading or whatever. I don't remember the exact one. But, I mean, he comes from publishing industry, and that was like whatever the exact phraseology was, when I realized that he points out point blank at the very beginning of the book that his background is not in writing but in publishing, and then says, you may think that what I have to say here is complete bull crud. Well, I don't care what his exact phraseology was after that. It becomes clear to me what he's saying there. I mean, it's like, I publish books, man. I mean, hey, I mean, if you don't, if you can read it and you think it's bullshit, but you still love it, hey, that's great. Well, cool, because that's kind of how it was too. I don't know if I didn't. I was thinking this is one of the few books where, like, as soon as I finished it, I was like, man, I may have to just read the whole damn thing again, with a little more critical an eye, which I ended up not doing. But I've lately come to a very definite conclusion that he gets most of his understanding from Rudolf Steiner, and I don't like Steiner. I've tried, he's just too authoritarian and judgmental for me. Or maybe it's just the guy who I've been listening to his stuff on YouTube. Maybe it's just the guy who does the reading. I mean, pre-Crowley, it's like, it's as if nobody, even ever thought of all the disadvantages of having followers who listen to you as an authority, had. And it's also just, I mean, and he seems to think it's a good thing, he's a Christian, and he's really trying to convert you to an esoteric Christianity. But man, I you know what? It's like, as a mystic, I know exactly where he's coming from. But as a denizen of the modern world, to quote Crosby, Stills, and Nash, if not Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, I forget which, same band. You know the outfit I'm referencing here, don't you? I'm sure you've maybe come across this outfit, in your travels through life. Sometimes they call themselves Crosby, Stills, and Nash. That would be because, they got Crosby and Stills and Nash. But sometimes they call themselves Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, because, they got Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and also they got Young. But I'm sure you're familiar with the outfit I'm referencing here. You heard rumors of this particular outfit? These guys are crazy. But, I mean, I might have to snort another, I don't know, pound or so of Coke just to deal with just what a bunch of crazy cats these cats is. I'm sure you're familiar with the outfit. You familiar with the outfit? You know the guys I'm talking about over here? Yeah. All right. As the Crosby, Stills and Nash song, or Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young song says, too many have died in the name of Christ for anyone to heed the call. Now, that's not literally true, but if you added the words anyone worth talking about, I think they damn well might be in this day and age. At any rate, yeah, I don't like Steiner. So if I read the book again, I might be a little less fond of it, or maybe I might be more fond of it, because I just don't like reading it. I don't like reading a guy who's, trying to convert you to some form of Christianity. I know where he's coming from mystically. I mean, one of his lectures or books or whatever is actually called Christ as a Mystical Fact. And I know what that means, but, hey, the Kabbalists have covered this. It's called Tiferet. Okay? So I know what you're saying, kid, but get off of my cloud. Yeah, at any rate, yeah. I have a point of view on occultism I'd like to cover, and I'm planning on making a playlist/podcast out of it. I suppose you could say that you'll be getting it even before the podcast I already have, which is currently, at this time, experiencing its greatest uplift in statistics so far in its entire history. Even though, the most popularly listened to one I ever did was, from the year I started it, within the first, it was the second episode, But, yeah, apparently I'm getting more views on my podcast, finally. My stats have just spiked on that. That's good, because I'm kind of dedicated to it. And the fact that my production in relationship to it is so spotty is reflective more of my lifestyle and who I am than a genuine reflection of my interest level, which has been high from the get-go. Although, I went and made it clear that I went for the easy money in terms of something that would be interesting yet possible to do. Instead of more purely and exactly what I wanted to do, a direction that was still developing. And I've been saying for about the last year and a half that I've finally found what I'm looking for in terms of that. And I truly plan and hope to get unified as soon as I can stop compulsively watching YouTube videos and learn to focus.